But with the Starship, they plan to launch it up, and then there's a second ship, huge ship that'll carry hundreds of people onto it. It will go into orbit. They will land the first stage of the Starship like they do the Falcon 9, except it will land directly back onto the pad. They will take a cargo ship, basically, with full of fuel, mount that on top, and then launch that again. And then when they're in orbit, they will dock with the other ship. It'll refuel, and then it'll be off to Mars or the moon or wherever they plan to go.
Oh, okay, I see. So you kind of, oh, that's interesting. So that way it's like a lighter. You can be like have a lot of supplies and weight
Yeah.
up in space and go a long distance, but it's lighter to lift off out
Mm-hmm.
of orbit. Okay.
Since it doesn't use a second stage, it just uses the ship in general, it would have to have fuel to get to Mars. So they just designed that concept where they would launch the ship with people, and then they bring it back down and launch a fuel ship, and then dock that, and then the fuel ship will come back down and land too.
Okay. So is there a second stage with this then?
The ship is considered a second stage, but it doesn't have. I don't know. I don't really know how they consider that. It's just they have the first stage, and then on top of it is the ship in general. I
Okay.
don't think they classify it as a second stage. It might just be a first stage.
Okay. So there'd be the first stage that's, blasting off propelling the ship into space out of orbit, and then that comes back down, like gets attached to basically just a big fuel tank, right?
Yep. Hmm.
And then that goes up, fuels the ship that's up there, and then that can go off to Mars. And
Yep.
then does both that fuel tank and the first stage come back down?
Yeah, the fuel tank will come back down, and the first stage will too. And then
Uh-huh.
they just changed the design on the Starship, so it would have fins, sort of like the space shuttle would, but not as big, and it will come down like a glider now. They just had it before where it would just come straight down, but now they want to glide it and use more drag to slow it down and
Hmm.
propulsively land,
Okay.
like how the space shuttle sort of would, but it will land vertically, unlike landing strips like the space shuttle did.
Okay. And that's the first stage that's going to be doing that.
Hmm.
Okay,
And
I
or
see.
no, the ship will be. The first stage will land vertically, like the Falcon 9 will.
Okay, but the ship, when it comes back to Earth, will
It
land
will
like
land.
that.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, I see. That makes sense.
Same thing on Mars too. It'll land like that on Mars.
Oh, it'll land like an airplane, similar to an airplane?
It'll land like the Falcon 9 does right now. It'll land vertically on landing legs onto Mars.
The ship will.
Hmm. With all the
Oh,
people in it, and
okay.
they wouldn't have enough fuel to come back to Earth if they were to go
Yeah.
to Mars. So if you're one of the first people to Mars, you probably are gonna die on Mars. But SpaceX did think that they could make fuel on Mars using Martian components like what was it? Just using gases and mining, they would be able to make fuel to get back to Earth.
Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. Because,
And
yeah, you go on.
Elon planned to build colonies there too, so he'd have to make hundreds and thousands of components and structures to be able to have life there.
Right, yeah. Well, that's like kind of his ultimate plan, wasn't it? Or the reason for starting SpaceX was to
Yeah.
colonize Mars.
He thinks that human life should be multiplanetary because we will eventually need to go somewhere else if something happens or we just blow ourselves apart with war, and you'd have to go to Mars and try to colonize that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Whew. If so, would we essentially have to figure out how to make fuel on Mars to get back, or is there a way to transport enough fuel there to get us back?
I'm not sure. I think you'd probably have to make fuel on Mars in order to get back, unless the spaceship will have enough fuel to uh, go to Mars, re-enter, land, and then get out of Mars' atmosphere, get in orbit around Mars, and then come all the way back to Earth. But
Yeah.
I think he said though, in order for us to get back, you will have to make fuel on Mars.
Right. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Whew. Holy crap.
Elon plans to go to a lot of places very
Yeah.
quickly too. He his timelines are just insane. Like he plans to um, land a Falcon 9, refuel it, and then fly it again in under 24 hours.
Wait. Say that again?
He plans to launch a payload up into space with the Falcon 9,
Yeah.
land the Falcon 9 back onto the launch pad or landing zone,
Uh-huh.
refuel it, put another payload on top of it, and launch that all under 24 hours.
Under 24 hours. Okay. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
And so
his employees didn't like that.
yeah, man. I've heard working for him just freaking sucks. Like you have no life and no family. You're just like expected to work as hard as he does.
Yeah, that's my dream job.